So do you know where in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania you can go to get a free sample milk, possibly watch a newborn calf being born, then watch a whole bunch of cows on a carousel, yes you heard me right, a carousel, and then climb a 100-foot power silo to get a good view of the landscape of Lancaster County? Well, there's only one place, that's Kreider Farm, so stay tuned to find out all there is to do at this really cool farm tour. Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. Thanks for joining me today to hear all about Kreider Farm, or where the cows are. If you don't know about Kreider Farms, they are Lancaster County original. They've been around for at least 5 generations. The land has been in the family for over 200 years, almost 300 years. So it's a staple of Lancaster County. All the milk that they produce and sell goes as far as international places and definitely along the East Coast, Pennsylvania. There's a lot going on at Kreider Farms. There's a lot of things you can do. They have a store, but we're going to talk just about the farm tour today. I'm going to mix up the order a bit so you can see the cows right away. And so we'll do the bus stuff after that you see all the cows and all the fun production. So here are some really fun clips from our time at the farm. Hope you enjoy.
They're eating, and then they can go and pick out a place to lay down. There's free stalls, they call them. There's a rubber alleyway they have to walk on for good footing, and then there's scrapers that scrape the manure to the center of the barn. Then it's pumped up to the perfume factory. I talked about a cow chewing her cud. Any animal that chews their cud is called a ruminant animal, and they have 4 stomachs. And when she eats, she doesn't fill up. She fills up that rumen, which is the first stomach, and that holds about 30 gallons in a mature cow. She'll fill that, and then she'll go and lay down or stand around and re-chew what she ate. That's called chewing her cud. She'll bring up a wad the size of a baseball, chew it 45 to 50 times, swallow it, bring up another wad, and chew that. There's some students from one of the universities wanted to find out how often a cow chewed in a day. So they followed a cow with a clicker in her hand, and every time she chewed when she was eating or chewing her cud, they kept punching that clicker. And they claim she chewed about 40,000 times in 24 hours. So those jaws really get quite a workout. Well, we have a Jersey here waiting to see us on the right.
Yep. Aww.
Yeah, farming, things break down, holidays, anytime you gotta work, fix them. Okay, on the left are heifers, the young one, waiting to have their first calf. On the right are ones that cows that just calved within the last several weeks.
Andy, there's a Jersey right here.
On the
A light one
on the left.
Right there.
Okay.
Yeah, right there.
Oh yeah, there's one laying down there. Jersey.
Then there's one up here a little bit further.
Yeah, there's more and more of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are more than there used to be.
See them laying there chewing their cud. Well, you were waiting to get on the bus. You all saw the pictures of the heifers along the side of the bus. You see they're checking there to see if there are pictures on there, I think. We have no bulls here, no males. Everything is bred artificially. And now the latest technology is they can pick out the sperm that will produce females. And that's what you want, of course, to produce the milk.
Does someone monitor them in case they need
They're giving
assistance?
birth? Yeah, they have a camera there. They're around here most of the time. They usually don't need assistance in calving. Well, unfortunately, the pens are empty over here. There's none in giving birth. And we
There
got...
was one in labor when we went through last time.
Oh, so she gave...
Yeah.
So one of these over here just gave birth within the last couple of hours. Yeah, these 2 would have calved earlier today.
And where are the calves?
The calves, the first thing they do, they milk the mothers and make sure the babies get that first milk. and then they feed the babies, and then they take them over to the calf barn. So they don't get to nurse. If they did for a week or two and took them away, the mothers would really be bawling for their calves. By the way, you know what we call a cow that just had a calf? Decaffeinated. So now these are all cows waiting to have their next calf from here on out to the end of the barn. The ones over there, the closest, and back in this side, it would be about 2 months. That's what they did. But inside those green shells, there's a inflation, and little jets of vacuum cause that to collapse and open just like you'd be milking by hand. The red numbers you see are the pounds she gave so far. Now this one has 10.8, 11, now that's her ear tag number that came on there now. 7.6. When the milk leaves the cow, it's about 100 degrees. Her normal body temperature is about 101. The milk is down through those meters underneath that calibrate the pounds of milk. And then the milk goes into this big pipe that surrounds the carousel. And there's a tank on each side that the milk runs into. It gets pumped to the center and then goes overhead. And back of these walls, there's a chiller that cools the milk down to 35.
How long have you been home now?
The whole time they were in the car.
He wasn't even listening, he was just trying to think of a singer.
Yep.
That's amazing. Just walk right up there and just like, okay, it's fine.
If you want to head up there, you can. The gate's open. Did you see where you go?
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
there's a porch. Yeah, you can head there.
My mom.
Bye.
Okay.
I just think one too loud. You can't see. No, I said they're antsy. Oh.
The pedal on his hip indent.
That's reminds me of that fish market out in Seattle.
There's that red one.
I'm glad it's hard on cows. They don't produce as much. There's a sensor there in the where the milkers
Yeah,
are
just
on.
walk right up there like that.
And when the milk goes down to a certain amount, the vacuum shuts off and they go off automatically.
They just sense
It's amazing.
it. I mean, the cows themselves just sense
No,
it.
the amount of milk coming out.
No,
They
but
like
isn't it how the
watching
cows
how fast they go in there. They like
Oh,
slow down.
back
and
off.
all.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Well, they do it every 3 times a day, but you see that bar coming down from the ceiling has a chain at the bottom? You can see that chain.
They just know how to get off too. They just know how to get off by themselves. That is interesting.
If she gets against that,
They're very trainable.
they can put a little shock in that.
Oh, really?
So they see
I
that.
don't know what you guys think of all the milking, but it's pretty fascinating to see how the cows literally just are used to going up there, getting on the carousel, spinning slowly as they're milked, and then getting off, backing out, and getting off. It's quite a system, and I was pretty astounded actually. After this part, we're going to go to the bus tour and hear some great facts. And at the very end, you're going to hear some really fun jokes from Andy, our tour guide. I loved Andy. He was a genuinely kind, nice man, but had a great sense of humor, was able to deliver jokes without cracking a smile, which I'm incapable of.
Now this farm had been in the Hershey family for almost 200 years. It had been deeded to them by William Penn, the founder of Pennsylvania, and they were hoping if the farm ever got sold, it could stay within the family. 1927, Noah and Mary got married, and they moved on a farm about 15 miles from here near a town called Burdenham. Well, 1929, 1930, you know what happened in our country? The Great Depression. Times were really tough, and so Noah and Mary moved home with their parents on the farm here near Mannheim. Now this farm, as I said, had been in the family for almost 200 years. 1935, they learned that Grandpa, who owned the farm, was talking about retiring, and Noah and Mary went to see Grandpa. They said, Grandpa, we'd really like to buy the farm. We don't have a lot of money, but we think we could make a go of it. And Grandpa said, you know, I'd love to sell it to you, but I know there's at least one other family member that's also interested in the farm, and I don't want to show favoritism one over the other, so I decided to put the farm up for a public auction, which was pretty risky to do if they were hoping it would stay in the family. Well, Noah and Mary were disappointed they couldn't make a deal with Grandpa, but they could understand some of his reasoning. They did a lot of praying about it, a lot of discussion around the kitchen table, and auction day came, and they were the successful bidders for this 102-acre farm for $12,000. That's hard to imagine, but you know, prices were really depressed. So along with doing custom work for his neighbors, he had 12 cows and 200 chickens. And remarkably, in 2 years' time, he had the farm paid off.
Wow.
Well, then other farms came up for sale in the neighborhood. They began buying additional farms, and over the years, they kept adding to the original. Today, they own over 3,000 acres in 3 different counties. Our dairy operation has increased from the 12 cows they started with. Today we have over 2,000 cows. We also have an additional 17 or 1,800 head of young stock. That's anything from the little baby heifer calves, that's the young females, up until the time they have their first calf at about 20 to 24 months of age. So we have about 3,800 head of livestock. We do process our own milk. We have a bottling plant there in the farm where we process our milk as well as make ice cream and other juice drinks. At the current time, about a third of our production is being processed for the kosher market, and that milk is sold under Pride of the Farm label. Incidentally, this is a field of wheat over here that's soon ready. It's ready to harvest shortly. Over here was alfalfa, but I believe they planted corn in there now, and they killed the alfalfa. They cut that twice this year, but alfalfa usually they can harvest 5 times a year. It's a legume hay crop. If you remember me explaining how they moved that silo 900 feet from where it was setting. And okay, up here in the hill, there's no cattle out there now, but they have what they call Kreider Valley Ranch. It's where a herd of longhorn cattle, and they got some there with massive horns. Sorry, we can't see them. Oh no, I guess they are way up.
We saw one earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, you saw them from the silo. Well, when you think of longhorn, what state do you think of?
Texas.
Texas.
Rhode Island.
Well, somebody told me this story about a Texas farmer. You know, Texans are kind of known for bragging a little bit. Everything's so big. This Texas farmer who was visiting a farmer in Australia, and everything the Australian farmer showed the Texan would say, oh, mine's so much bigger, mine's so much bigger. And just then a kangaroo hopped across the field, and the Texan said, what's that? The Australian said, well, don't you have grasshoppers in Texas? That is a water plant, and Kreider Farms supply the water for there to supply a township with water. We have a number of wells here in the farm. As you can imagine, all the cows and chickens, how much water they need. But we have one of the wells producing over 1,000 gallons a minute. and the solar panels there produce the energy to run the water plant. This man worked for NASA, and he had a space, would travel around the country giving lectures on space travel, and he had a chauffeur that would take him from one place to another, and then he said to his chauffeur one day, "You've heard me give my speech so often, I'll bet you could give it. Why don't you do it while we're driving here?" So the chauffeur gave the lecture while they were driving, and the expert said, "Well, you have it perfect." He said, "Okay, the next place we get to, we'll change suits. I'll sit in the audience as a chauffeur, and you give the lecture." So that's what he did, and when the chauffeur got finished with the lecture, the MC got up and said, "Now we have time for a question from the audience." Man raised his hand. He said, "Sir, can you tell me, is the ionosphere convex or concave?" And the chauffeur laughed. He said, "Oh my goodness, that's such a simple question. Well, my chauffeur can tell you the answer to that one."
Thanks for watching this. Let me know if you've been here or if you plan to go. I know I had a friend go and they had a really good time, and it's just pretty interesting to learn how they run such a large facility. It was really fun, and honestly, it's one of the cheaper tours you can do in Lancaster County for an hour and a half, to tell you the truth. That's a very affordable price. The only thing I wish they would have would be a way for us to be with the babies, which they didn't do for the tour. That's the only thing I can say was like slightly a criticism, was that we didn't get to see the babies. It's not technically handicap accessible, but we had a really sweet tour guide that actually called my parents and had them listen to his talk the entire time while they followed in the car behind us. And we were on the bus, they were in the car, and he called them. Not saying that's standard, but I also know that my friend Christine went with her mom, and they had such a small group that he rode in the car with them and just did the tour in their car. So I feel like they're very accommodating. It is possible to do it with accessibility issues, and the area where you look at the milk production, you can kind of see a lot of it just in your scooter or your wheelchair, so that's a really big plus too. Advanced reservations are required. The tickets are $15 for those 12 and up, and $10 for those 2 to 11. Tours run from Monday through Saturday, starting at 9:30, and the last one starts at 1:30. Tours run about an hour and a half, and you start and end the tour on their bus that takes you from the Welcome Center to the farm. One more really quick thing that I want to mention is that there is a distant relation to Milton Hershey, the founder of Hershey's Chocolate, and it was the Mary and Noah who started this farm. She was a Hershey. This Hershey's owned this land for 200 years before they bought it from her grandpa or her dad. And Milton Hershey was a distant relative of that father. So, just a fun fact about Lancaster County. Highly recommend. Let me know what you think, and if you have questions, of course, leave those in the comments. And I hope you enjoy your next adventure.